Gordon, right? Obviously, we haven't seen you since September, I believe it was, when you won another ADCC. So how's life been after another victory like that?
Life's been good. Can't complain. I went on like my first vacation in 10 years, and then got back and jumped right into the camp for this. So I'm just back in training, doing the same thing I always do.
How'd the body react to your first vacation in 10 years?
It was kind of weird, to be honest. I got there and I was like, oh man, like 3 days in, I was like, man, this is cool. And the fourth day, I was like, kind of bored. Like, I feel like weird not training. We were there for 2 weeks. We went to Hawaii. So then we got back and I'm like, oh, thank God I'm back. I was like dying not training. So it was fun, but I like the routine.
And then obviously you're headlining the UFC Fight Pass Invitational 3 against, it's the rematch against Vinny. Outside of like the ADCC and everything, was it important for you to get this rematch against Vinny, knowing that he was, I believe, the last guy to defeat you, correct?
Yeah, he's the last match I had, the last loss I had in 2018, and he's one of 3 guys to beat me at black belt, and I already beaten Felipe, and then Vinny is like the last guy that I have to compete against. So I'm looking forward to get this back, because once I beat him, then I will have beaten everyone that I could beat who has beaten me at black belt.
And obviously, as MMA fans and reporters, we've heard of Vinny's background since he joined the UFC. But is he the same grappler as you faced all the way back then, or do you believe you have finally surpassed him in skill?
Vinny has been focusing a lot on mixed martial arts, but he's been competing in jiu-jitsu too. He hasn't been as successful recently as he has been in the past with jiu-jitsu, but he's always dangerous. He's a very big guy. He's hard to submit, and he's very, very dangerous. So, I think that we're both different grapplers, but I think it's going to be hard for him to keep up with the level of development that I've been looking at the last 5 years. So I think the technical gap is going to be too big now for him to avoid a submission.
And then I would be remiss if I didn't ask. I'm sure a lot of fight fans are always curious if you're ever going to jump into a cage or put on gloves or anything. Is there still any future for you inside mixed martial arts, or are you just solely grappling?
Yeah, maybe if one of my teammates actually win an ADCC Absolute, and I can just kind of like give it to them. To be honest, John has never been wrong. Like our coach John has never been wrong on much, and he seems to think that I should stick with grappling. So it's hard to argue John, man. He's always giving me advice, and like either 3 years later, 5 years later, I'm like, man, John was right. So for right now, I'm going to stick with grappling, and then maybe if like one of our guys wins the Absolute and starts dominating people like I do, then I'll make the jump. But for right now, grappling.
Is there anyone from your team coming up that you believe could win Absolutes in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I think Nicholas Marigali is a strong candidate. He's been training, Nogi for 6 months, and he took silver in the Absolute this year against Yuri. I think Giancarlo Bodoni is another one who's super, super tough. He won ADCC on his debut this year. Luke Griffith is very young in his competition career. He's only a brown belt, but he went toe-to-toe with Yuri, who won the Absolute. And he's going to be super tough. He's going to give a lot of people problems in the next few years. There's a lot of guys that I think that could win, but those 3 guys have proven in competition already that they're at that level. And there's some other guys like Oliver Taza and Dan are very tough in the gym. They just have to prove it. They have to prove what I know to everybody else in the world on the competition stage.
Hey, Gordon, right over here. I'm curious, can you speak on, was it just timing with your health and that it just didn't work out timing-wise for the one championship and everything else? We heard that you just were no longer under contract with them after signing a couple years ago.
Yeah, so I actually felt super bad about this because I signed the contract with one, and then before I was able, then COVID happened, and then before I was able to compete, my stomach just got so bad that I stopped competing completely. And then, by the time I was actually ready to compete, the contract we're in different places with the contracts and everything, we didn't re-sign the contract. So I felt really bad about that because I was trying to do as much promotion as I could for them while I was sick because I signed the contract and then I never actually got to compete, but. I talked to Chantre and talked to one, and I'm happy to. I actually want to do a match. I've wanted to do matches for one for a while. I want to grapple everywhere. I want to grapple everywhere. I want to grapple everybody. I want to see the different looks. They have a lot of Sambo guys over there, guys who don't necessarily compete in jiu-jitsu. So I want to compete against everybody.
Now, obviously, being part of jiu-jitsu, most people know who you are. Having that UFC brand and being part of the UFC Invitational, I mean, do you notice just an uptick in the attention? Like, oh, like this is the guy if they don't follow jiu-jitsu. And have you just seen a bump in your social media or anything else like that?
Yeah, I think that this is a big jump, not just for me, but for the sport as a whole. I think that the crossover, first it was a crossover between wrestling and jiu-jitsu, where you kind of got the wrestling fans into jiu-jitsu and vice versa. But now you're having the crossover between mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu. So I think this is going to kind of catapult us. I think ADCC was the first step. I think having 13,000 people watching a live event for 2 days straight was huge for us, and I think that the UFC partnership with grapplers is kind of catapult the sport into a new realm. So I'm very excited to see what happens over the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Hey, Gordon. I just wanted your thoughts on the Ruotolo brothers. They're taking the jiu-jitsu scene by storm, kind of, and I just wanted your overall thoughts on them.
Yeah, so they're very, very talented. I've known them for years. I knew that at some point I'd probably be competing against them, or I'd be in talks to compete against them. And Ty actually just called me out. Cade is actually very polite. He's like the same person on social media as he has always been. Ty's getting very confident, and with me it's false confidence. He wanted to compete against me. He asked me for 10-1 odds like I gave to Felipe, and I told him to put. I told him and his brother, they just wanted the $50,000 bonuses for one championship. So I told them to put their $100,000 against my $200,000, and I'll fight him back to back and give him 2-1 odds. And he never responded. Ty can hang with the best guys. He can compete against anybody in the world, but I'm different.
Do you think a matchup is probably going to happen in the future at some point?
I mean, I hope so. Free money is good money.
Awesome. Thank you.